Mi Primer Bitcoin shirt as well, is
I'm
there?
actually, yeah, I have to. Yeah, I am wearing an official because I have to. It's just that I had this when I was like, "Ugh, this one is not super hot and it's kind of hot, which is because it's raining. But in El Salvador, it tends to be humid. So I'm like, it's raining. Why is it hot? So I assume and
Everyone I
because
know
of
that's
the
lived in
noise,
El
I tend to.
Salvador who's not Salvadoran has said to me, "Oh my God, it's so humid."
Yes, it is humid and it's bearable. Well, I guess so. So that's why to me, I was in Madrid when I came back from Prague and it was 29, but I was like, this is amazing because it was 29 but dry. So to me, it was a good weather and everybody was dying. And I was just happy.
Nice,
So
nice, nice.
I
Yeah,
know,
so tell us who you are and what you do. Like, what's your role? And then we can delve into your amazing background.
of course. Thank you, Krista, and thank you for having me here. Actually, I'm really excited. I'm really glad we got to connect too, and so we can chat today. So I'm Reyna Chicas, and I work as a teacher lead in Mi Primer Bitcoin, and I'm also part of the board. I'm secretary of the board of directors since last year, and well, I had a interesting background, I will say, or just funny, but so I ended up working here in 2020, late 2022. Last year is when I delved in more into it. So I'm from El Salvador, born and raised. And I would say that at the peaks when the pandemic, sorry, no, the El Salvador was like most dangerous, the most dangerous country in the world. That's when I left. I went to Guatemala. I lived there for 4 or 5 years. And, long story short, I came back. And I think it was like sort of a circle. So I started volunteering with Mi Primer Bitcoin. There is more into it. But like I started volunteering with them, just going to graduations and see what they were all about. I remember when I heard that they were here, when there was this organization here trying to educate people, I already knew about Bitcoin, but I really liked when I went to the graduation, see their approach. I honestly, at the beginning, thought there was maybe something that had to do with the government, maybe not, maybe it was just a bunch of geeks. But what they were trying to do was really educate people in, undeveloped areas, everybody that wanted to learn. So um, I was already, still working on my fiat jobs. So what I liked was
So just to
how
give people context, because not everyone listening might know what Mi Primer Bitcoin is. So do you want to maybe just touch on what the organization actually is and what it does and how it ended up in El Salvador, like what the backstory is there?
absolutely, yes, you're right. So, Mi Primer Bitcoin is an educational organization. So we are based in El Salvador, and our motto is like, our focus is El Salvador, but the mission is the world. And we are an educational from zero. Like, we've created a program, the Bitcoin Diploma, which is 10 chapters, 10 weeks. This book is not for Bitcoiners. This is for people to take people from zero to at least I know something about Bitcoin, and it goes through the whole monetary system. What is money? Why we need it? What is inflation? What causes it? Or current monetary system, how it works, what fiat money is. So that's like the first part. Like, so we have these two, based so from chapter 1 to 5, it's all about money, about our current system. And then after we go into Bitcoin, because basically if we want
And what
to.
was the reason for establishing that? Because I know from backstory that John Dennehy, the founder, when El Salvador became the first country in the world to make Bitcoin legal tender, he raced over there and thought, this is my chance to change the world, and founded the company. But like, what's the objective of the company? So when you say it's kind of education for the whole world, obviously it's the program has launched in El Salvador, and El Salvador is like the testing ground. But what's the objective, let's say, starting with El Salvador? Like, what's the goal that you're trying to reach by having this curriculum and this workbook?
So we see Bitcoin education as an empowerment tool. Bitcoin, as the same way as money now, or current money, fiat money is used for control. We see Bitcoin as a tool for freedom. And so at the end of the day, for us, Bitcoin education is not the end. It's basically a means to the end, which is empowerment. We really want more people to wake up, let's say, or to find out that there is hope, which is one of the reasons why I kept coming and I really liked it. It was just trying to see and adapt to necessities of people here. So we developed this program, right? And we wanted to teach it in the schools. And then suddenly, or little by little, people started reaching out, adults that they wanted to receive it, and community area. So they were, okay, we have this community house here in this district. Can someone come and teach us? So for us, it's more of
So
empowering
just
people.
just as a
Yeah.
question though, like was that sort of organically that the community found out that you guys were doing this and showed interest, or were you proactively going out to governmental organizations? Because obviously the government in El Salvador had made Bitcoin legal tender. So were they kind of initiating this, or was this more that you guys were already creating the program and they just happened to hear about it and organizations happened to hear about it?
Yes, said the second. So that's how it went down. So at the beginning, of course, we needed to have, let's say, contact and approaching certain schools. So we started teaching this program in like high school level schools. That it was designed for 15, 16 and above ages. But I've taught that diploma in Guatemala for 13, 12 years old, and they get it. So which is it's amazing how easy they learn now. And then is when, I guess started making noise, and they said, so at the beginning, we didn't work with the government. And just to give a little bit more context, John, the founder, he tried to do this in Ecuador. He lived in Ecuador for many years, and so he, of course, learned about Bitcoin years ago. It's like something is wrong with the word. What is it? What can we do to help? And in his mind was Bitcoin education. But it didn't pick up. It was right after the sort of middle of COVID and right after COVID. So people didn't want to meet in person or anything. When the rumors came that he came to El Salvador, he started this like he likes to say, the movement. It was a smaller organization than it is right now. Today we are about 21 people in the team on payroll, like paid, and then we had tons, of volunteers. So then it's because we created this program, and now we're working also with entities that are education. We've made agreements. At the beginning, it's not that we needed to ask for permission. We actually never really did, permission to go and teach the schools. It just easier, like it makes it friendly because El Salvador, Bitcoin is legal tender in El Salvador.
Was
So
is
then
the
it's
population in El Salvador open to learning about it then? Like, is there a curiosity? Because I know that when you guys launched Bitcoin, or rather when Bitcoin became legal tender, there were some technical issues with the wallets and things like that, and maybe some suspicion from the local population. But have you found generally that the schools and the universities are very interested now in bringing education in?
Yes, I will say at the beginning, because I learned about Bitcoin before, way before the law, but I was one of the first ones that I would be, why are we having Bitcoin? Like, we don't even have the best internet infrastructure in the country. People really doesn't know at all. Like you would ask, I will say now, at least today, June 2024, people in El Salvador is at least aware of the fact that Bitcoin exists, so they know. And then even though there is, the president here is very popular, there's still a lot of people that just associate it with the government. So if they are not completely agreed, then they might have that hesitation. But there is genuinely
Oh, interesting.
curiosity, and I think. I mean, the fact that the price goes up sometimes is a blessing and a curse. So there is more curiosity, but people think that it's just to make you rich overnight. So then that's where our role, I think, it plays out. Like, we want to also avoid, of course, people falling into scams. We want to really explain them what Bitcoin is for, how they can protect their funds. We see, all the process through wallet, how you can self-custodial, custodial wallet, all of that part, how the technical part of Bitcoin works at the surface level. We don't go
Mhm.
that deep either. People get confused. And we just try to adapt what they need. So then I believe is when, let's say, reputation and respect from the people has been, okay, no, these guys really just teach about that. Like, we don't uh we are a non-governmental organization, and we're friendly with the government. Of course, we have agreements, and we've signed MOUs with the Minister of Education here. And it was actually after that was thanks to the Bitcoin office too. And so they, Beacon Office is the one that basically oversees those connections. And they knew about us. Stacy, which is the leader, she knew about me from Rico, and she's, friends with John. And that's when that connection happened. So our first, say, pilot that we did with them was last year. It was late last year, September, October, where we teach, it was around 200, yeah, 200, 150, sorry, 150 teachers from the public school system. So they will learn and then they go to their own classrooms to teach it.
Oh, I see.
And
So you trained the teachers first to go and deliver the program, right? That's amazing.
yeah,
150 you did.
150 we did, and
Wow.
even them, like the office at the Minister of Education here in the capital, they told us how surprised they were that they actually went to apply it. Because at the end it's just so, as far as they can do, right? Like, so it's sort of mandatory. You guys are gonna go take this training
Hmm.
to in days all day. The program is designed technically for 10 weeks, once a week, but they did it in 2 days. And yes, not all of them, but I believe it was about 95 teachers that actually applied it. They sent them pictures. This is how we do
Wow.
it. We got feedback. It was really amazing. And this is the
What
part
age
that is
range of
important.
children were they teaching, like this group of teachers?
Also, 16, 17, 18,
Oh,
those
okay.
three ages around. Yeah, those are like the last when you are about to leave school. And then after that, it seems that they want to include these classes. So they've added, they are updating the Minister of Education because it's been an all curriculums. Previous administrations actually really didn't care about education. So they are also using an old one. And they want to by these last years because a lot of in El Salvador is very common. Not a lot of people goes to university. Many don't. So they just high school and then you look for a job. To include models that are um, entrepreneurship, like sort of if you want to go,
Mhm.
do on your own and open a business or whatever you like.
Sorry, that's
They
my dog in the
go.
background.
I
It's just in a
assume so. I was like, is that a ghost? Oh, but that's so sweet. Yeah.
brown shape rearranging itself.
Oh, yeah, mine that happens. Like my mic scratch my door just because she doesn't like mine to be open, to be closed. So yeah, we did that, and it was really cool. And they because it's a government say it's an MOU, so they did their graduation. They received their little diplomas that they did it at the office here in the capital with the Ministry of Education. So the teachers were really excited, right? Let's get it's basically their main boss. So and they really like it. So in that way it's easy. We don't receive money from the government. We do this with our own funds because we go by we're independent and we're impartial. So we want to keep that. But of course it's
Yeah.
helpful. We have the open doors. And then this year, so because that one went really well, this year we had a meeting to start developing a curriculum for younger audiences, and it's gonna be a team with the little holder,
Wow.
little
Oh,
holder
the
team,
little hodler,
and
yeah.
that's the little
The soft
holder.
toys,
Yeah,
yeah. For people that don't know, they're like
yes,
it's a little cartoon character that's basically been made into a plushie, like a soft toy.
yeah,
That is a hodler, like a Bitcoin holder, and in different forms.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's is
yeah,
it Lena
exactly. And she has
Seiche?
comics. What?
Is it
Lina?
Lena
Yes,
Seiche, the one who founded it?
Lina,
Yeah, the
Lina.
German
Yes,
girl.
exactly, Lina. So
Yeah.
she's yeah, the German girl. So she's living here now. She's living in El Salvador. She moved basically, her company
Oh,
here.
really?
Yes, yeah, she's
Wow.
taking Spanish classes and the whole thing. So when we have our chat, she now says buenos dias in Espanol and all of that. So it's really
Oh, so
cool.
that's so cool. So basically, she's franchising the little hodler to you guys to do a curriculum based on that character for kids.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
we're
God, I
gonna
love
help
that.
more,
That's amazing.
it's really cool. So I'm doing it like I'm actually working, I have to sit down sometimes and like think. So and I think sometimes, especially I just came up from Europe, so I'll tell you more about it. But I think sometimes I take for granted certain, privilege of living in a big country. And so we go to these meetings and it's like, okay, what else we're gonna do? But I remember that after, and I told Lina and I told John, it was with the Ministry of Education. It's like, this is massive. Like the fact that we're gonna be able to teach kids about money when they are 5, 6, 7 years old. I mean, I wish we have. So, we are gonna have more, with the content, like actually so he can create it. And she has comics and all of that too. So we're gonna start with little activities, right? Of course, like when they're little, it's just awareness of what money is, what do you use it, and then we're gonna go a little bit of evolution. It's gonna be more with activities and
So is
coloring
that almost going to
pages
be
and
like
all of that.
comic books for kids?
I
Like,
will say at the beginning, yes, it will be. If we're gonna make two workbooks, we want to make one workbook that is for first, second, third grade, and then a second workbook that is for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. And so that's to start because we were sort of late to sort of blended in the work studies books that they already have. But when we had the meetings after with the team in at Miner, they we talked about that. Like eventually what we want to achieve is make, everything about Bitcoin. For example, if we're seeing in social studies and history, the 2008 crisis, sort of blend that topic over there, like, the what Satoshi created, what the first block was it. If it's mathematics and they see currencies, then we're gonna include it there. So it's normal for them. That's what we want to put. So the teachers also don't feel like it's another workbook that they have to use for next year. That's how it's going to go. But then eventually the goal is included in every subject. Everything touches Bitcoin. We know that, like, everything touches down to money and to Bitcoin. So it's so many ways. If they see about energy and renewable energies, we're also going to teach the fact that, you can do mining with that and how mining works. And um,
oh my
so
God,
that's
that's really
very
cool.
cool.
So
Very
you
excited.
basically you've got like the teenagers education from like 16 to 18. You've got the units that are now going into the university education, and then there's going to be this little hodler collaboration of a kind of comic book for
Yeah.
younger children that have this is amazing. That's so, so cool. That's really great. And is that all being done in Spanish or is it also available? Is it being translated into other languages?
Yeah, so we did originally, for example, the Bitcoin Diploma, the first book, the 10-week book that we had, 10-chapter book, was in Spanish. And then we translated to English. And then eventually, new versions, we had people reaching out for collaborations to be able to translate it. Up till today, we have around 15 communities, like 15 different languages, people on our Telegram group, basically want like collaborating to translate it. It's been translated already, I believe, to German, French, Portuguese. So this one with the kids also is going to be developed in English. Of course, after we're going to have to do it, translated in Spanish for them because it's here in El Salvador. And one thing that we asked, and I told you we don't ask money from the government, but one thing that we asked was to be open source. And they said yes, which was really cool because that means I believe it's the first time in the world that a government, materials are going to be open source. And it's exactly what you said at the beginning. Bitcoin made legal tender here. El Salvador at the end is going to be an example for better or for worse. So all that we're trying to do is that it's a good example for others to replicate, because it's what is going to follow. We saw how much the price was when the price went down. I will see the headlines of, oh, that experiment in El Salvador and blah, blah, blah. But now that the price went up, nobody says anything. And I believe that if all of these, educational programs and us trying to teach kids and trying to teach adults and trying to teach merchants, I believe, there are eyes on it and we just want to make the best of it and make the best example that we can.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you want to tell me a bit about your Bitcoin journey then? Like, how did you actually discover Bitcoin and what were you doing before?
So right before, I was assistant, executive assistant freelance. But so the way, I learned English, I was born and raised here and we speak Spanish, was years ago. At this point, I've been speaking English for more than 10 years.
How old were
But
you when
we
you learned
had more,
English?
about 20.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, well, huh.
20. Yeah. Yeah. And it was because I asked, a lot of people thought implied that I lived in the States, which is very common. So throughout the years, there's been a lot of immigration to the United States from people from El Salvador. First, it was the Civil War in the 80s. And then after it was, the basically internal war, not official, that we had with the guns. So more opportunities to work. When I left high school, um, the call center industry was growing here, was sort of picking up, and you would hear, oh, there is, better salaries and this, and they were. It's just amazing how they're still paying around the same, but it's been 10 years. That salary is just no longer super good. And so I went to university for the first time. And then you have this oblivion of, oh, I'm going to work and study. And it was just not possible. I'm like, this salary is nothing. And then I'm not able to study, just a career. I started journalism actually, only did 1 year. And so I focused on English, learned English, moved to a call center. And that's when I worked maybe about for 4 or 5 years. And then inside you can move on, right? Like you can be an agent and then you can be quality assistant and then you can be team manager. So that's how it worked and it played out. But I sort of got tired. Like it was really just routines of every day, and there is something in you sometimes like there should be more. So then by then is when I went just on vacation to Antigua, Guatemala, in Guatemala, which is a colonial city, actually, our UNESCO protected city. Very, very cool. And I really, really liked it. It was just something about the small town and community. And I made friends where I would stay. And then, one thing led to another. I made friends with the owner of a hostel. I didn't know she was the owner. And I remembered I told her I just liked here. I wish I could. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to come. And it's a sort of a party town too. So I was like, most likely if I want to come, I can work as a bartender. And so I took a course here in El Salvador just to learn bartending, which is funny because there I never use any bartending skills. People would just buy beers. So, but I can make cocktails and all of that. So it's like,
Good
what
skill
did
to
I pay
have.
for?
Making cocktails is always a good skill to have.
Exactly.
Nice.
So I was like, okay, cool. And then, so I worked at a hostel. I worked at a hostel as first at reception. And because of the experience that I had, they were like, you can help us be a manager. So would you like to be, manager from the bar and from the hostel? So what it will be maybe 1 year turned out to be 5 years. I stayed there around 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
And I remember 2020, January 2020, I said to myself, this is the last year. You should get serious and, just do something else. It's been too much party. It was fun, but, you're getting old. So that's what I did. And a friend of mine opened, like right by in 2019, he opened a school and Spanish school in Guatemala. It's like, I want to open a business. I would like you to manage it. And I said, okay, maybe this is it. This is really cool. And then COVID happened. Like I was there, and so the business, was just bigger. Like it wasn't even 6 months old, and it was in person. At least they did like a foundation of an online class platform too. So that's how they survived. They just moved to online because they had to shut down the school. They never reopened it. It was just not worth it.
Mm.
Antigua, Guatemala basically lives on tourism, so it was pretty dead. I never really thought that I was gonna see it that way. Like, I mean, there are certain things that it's gonna be crazy, and I'm sure everybody in quarantine. But Antigua lives from expat, like their economy is tourism. So
Mm.
and there was no one, and a lot of people struggle. And I was very lucky because if I was still working at a hostel, I wouldn't I wouldn't know what I've done at that point because everything shut down. They say sorry, to all bartenders, there is no jobs. But I was working already with the school, so I was in charge of the online whole basis and bringing new students and paying the teachers off in Guatemala. So I kept an income, and I stayed there. I didn't come back to El Salvador because borders were closed, and at the beginning, the government here, you definitely needed to quarantine. I really didn't want to go to a place and stay there for 15 days. So I waited and I came back late 20 September or something. That's when also, when I thought at the beginning, I did buy the whole thing, of course, of okay, this is a virus or something, but I really thought it was gonna be also 1, 2, 3 months at tops.
Mm.
But then eventually, and then the whole vaccine thing, I was like, like no, maybe I'll wait. Like we want my family. I'm grateful for that. My mom, my dad have always been a little bit the family members that are conspiranoics. Like they
They're
always question it.
skeptical.
They're skeptical, and we've always been. So I think that's why we also decided like no, like heck no. This is one thing I appreciate here, the government here, is that at least it was never mandatory. And Salvador was one of the first countries to bring the vaccine actually, but it was never ever mandatory.
Mm.
So that helped. But a lot of people, of course, got it. And that's when I was like, we're living in a crazy world. And somehow Bitcoin came to our radar. I think it was through my brother. Like he's a little bit more techie, so I guess he learned it online or something, and he told me about it. And we wanted, basically at the beginning for us, it was just a way to see if we could make more dollars or trade it or something. We actually traded for a bit.
Did he
I've
get
never
interested in it after El Salvador made it legal tender, or was he already interested in it before that?
was already interested. Yeah, he was already
Oh,
interested, but it was a few months, and then we heard the rumors, and that's when I said, okay, maybe I should study this because this is gonna come to El Salvador, so let's find out what it is. I already had an idea, like I knew how it worked and everything, and I actually bought Bitcoin before, like I bought from an exchange.
oh,
Um,
okay.
so I did had Bitcoin before, and that is when the legal tended. And then of course you know how it works and the whole point and privacy. And then when the law came to effect, and then the government created the wallet, and to me basically say everything that does not represent Bitcoin in a way, because you have to use your ID. But I think at the beginning it was just their way to onboard people. Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the best way, but we all learned. So that was the way. And it basically opened up what is happening around the world. Like a lot of people has our data, because in order to open that wallet, you needed to put your national ID, which we all have just one number, right? And when this was many people try to open it, it said that it already exists, which means someone else had their number and was able to purchase it. And throughout these years, working here in the Salvador call center, study, blah blah. At some point, I did work selling cell phones very very early for a few months in a store, and I remember that we used to do that. Like you order, you buy a SIM card, you get your number, but very vaguely, I remember that they would keep some records for some reason. I thought it was security. So then after that, this game, I'm like,
Oh,
our data is around somewhere for a long, long time. People can, use your ID number because you put it everywhere. And so a lot of people think like, oh, they stole my $30, blah, blah. I'm sure it wasn't like only the government. This was just, a lot of people where we put our ID in paper in
right.
storage somewhere. So something like that could have happened. And
Yeah,
that's
I see what you
when
mean. It makes sense because if you're not actually having to go and verify it in person with your ID in order to access the wallet, then I can see how that would be the case. So what's the impact of that been then? Does that mean that people are not using the governmental wallet Chivo as much? Are they using other wallets in El Salvador, or what, how does that usually work now in terms of interacting with Bitcoin for the majority of the population?
so people that learned a little bit more, the first thing that they want to learn is to see if there is another way. So the ones that are still scared and skeptical, then they still use Chivo, but because it has technical problems, it has problems. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it has problems. So then they are scared to use Bitcoin because they think Bitcoin is cheaper. So that's what we play. It's like, no, there are this and this and this. We try to always not suggest one single one. When we
Mm,
build that trust with a friend, with a group, 5 people that I'm teaching, then I'm open and tell them, you know what, I use this one. I like it. These are the reasons why I like it. These are the developers. They are open source. So far so good. But also it's good to be honest and say, Bitcoin is a new technology, still in development. There are so many people around the world interested in to make it work. But like
hmm.
everything, don't tell me your online banking has never failed. It does. It's technology, it happens. But yeah, I use some wallets, custodial, non-custodial wallets here in El Salvador that are easier. And that's when they learned. Blink, for example, is one that in El Salvador is very popular because the only one besides Chivo that has the stable sats, the fact that you can change it to dollars. Chivo is that way. That's why a lot of people are still using
Oh,
it
really? Oh,
because you
that's
can
interesting. So it
receive,
does the dollar conversion for you. Hmm.
yes, the dollar conversion. So of course, people feel a little bit safer. It's like, okay, I can receive a payment in Bitcoin, but because of they're scared of the volatility of the price, then they can switch it to dollars. And that's what I mean. It's a journey. So at the
It's
beginning,
interesting
of course,
actually,
I'm
because I've
gonna.
heard that from a lot of people that like Westerners that have traveled to El Salvador. They said that when they were paying people in Bitcoin, like say at a hotel or a restaurant or whatever, that the hotel or restaurant would immediately convert it to dollars. So that, and they thought that that was quite interesting, kind of understandable to your point because of the volatility versus fiat, that they would feel that way. So that's interesting. What percentage of the population do you think, and I know you probably can't possibly know this, but what percentage of the population do you think receives Bitcoin as payment and holds the Bitcoin versus doing the conversion?
Mhm. So yeah, it's very strange. I mean, tricky. But I will say, for example, to put you an example, from the people that have taken the Bitcoin diploma, and this is not saying that we're perfect, but we try to, be honest, teach empowerment and all of that. So at the end of it, at least 75% of people of those groups that we taught will say risk. They still consider it a risk. Leave some of it in Bitcoin. They are not gonna live on a Bitcoin standard and say, I don't care about the volatility, I receive it and I keep it at all. Like not at all. But I will say that they will, okay, my savings, the money that I want to save for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, they keep it in Bitcoin. And to me, even 60%, that's a lot. Um, it's a lot of people that are already trying to, and they start little by little, right? Like they start, they're 5%, they're 3%, and it's not much, but I think they're giving it a chance,
I mean,
which
that's
is
probably
which
about
is
the
cool.
average for a Westerner as well. It's like, I mean, nobody, I mean, obviously in Western countries, we don't have Bitcoin as legal tender, but I would say that most people probably who have some Bitcoin are probably like 5 to 10% of their wealth invested in it on average. Like the rest of it, they're just dealing in fiat because they're living in a fiat world. I mean, obviously for El Salvador, in theory, you could live on a Bitcoin standard, but I can understand as well
Mhm.
with it being a new asset class that people aren't necessarily doing that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I will say you're right. Uh, Technically, we do can live in a Bitcoin standard, and you can. Like I've tried it, and I will say that 90% I can do it, and there are months that I do it. There are months that I have to switch a little bit of fiat
Oh,
because of no one takes a
interesting.
payment. But for example, like I can pay my electricity bill, I can pay all of my bills basically um, using Bitcoin. We have sort of a bank here. It's also a wallet and an app, but they have a Mastercard. So as well, like I can I
Mm.
receive I receive my payment in Bitcoin. My salary is paid all in Bitcoin. So and that's what it plays out, right? Like I can, of course, I leave everything that I can, and yes, I leave basically everything that I can in Bitcoin, but there are going to be $100 that I need to switch back because the rent and all of this. So that's the point where I feel nobody was before. Like, yes, you will take a payment in Bitcoin, but you will switch everything to fiat, everything to. So that's where I was playing, that percentage of people. Okay, whatever I can do, I'll do it there. But another thing is also, the minimum salary in El Salvador is about $390. So when we talk about savings, it's very we cannot go, to the people or the pupuseria, which is, a local lady making pupusas in the street to ask her to hold in Bitcoin, because then she's gonna come hold what, like I live day by day. So
Mm.
I even from fiat, I don't save anything. So that's another topic, that's another conversation
Mm.
that we have, and we've come, and that's why one of our goals, actually we're working on that, is to create a personal finance sort of workshop for
Oh,
people. So
amazing.
because that's what it plays out, we go here and it's like, oh cool, yeah, Bitcoin, and you don't lose your purchasing value, so and so, but nobody here is also having the chance to save. That's a privilege for many people here. And what I was telling you about the call center, for example. So when I started working at a call center, that was more than 12 years ago, I was making a salary of 600 US dollars. Back then, that was great salary. Now I believe their average is also 650, 700 US dollars. So that's twice technically the minimum salary in El Salvador. But that's not a that's the minimum, like that's the basics that you can go and live by here. Inflation is everywhere. There is this trend, of course, of a lot of expats, tourists, Bitcoiners, people from El Salvador that lived in the US for 20 years coming back. So there's this little bubble of rent getting too expensive. And a lot of locals are blaming Bitcoin and Bitcoiners
Oh,
basically
that's
saying, oh,
interesting
yeah,
because
it's
there's
because
such
all
an
of them.
influx of people wanting to live there now. There's a bit of like resentment building up. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, a little bit, but it's like it's expensive everywhere. Like ask anybody in the world. Everybody is suffering. And everything comes down to money. That is just money, coins after the same things. Or
But has the increase in
uh,
tourism helped the economy? I mean, is there more wealth kind of flowing into El Salvador now, do you feel? Even if there are lots of people coming to live there and rents are going up, is the kind of tourism that's coming, the Bitcoin tourism, helping the economy or hindering it? Like, what's your sense?
no, I will say that it definitely helps. I'm not gonna say that it helps absolutely everyone. And this is more of a personal opinion that you have opportunities, you take them. You, for example, when I was telling you I wanted to do something else after being bartender and all of that, I had to study. I studied, I took courses. So like, okay, what can I do to work remote, etc., etc. So then you're ready. The more that you educate yourself, the more opportunities you may have. And I really don't want to offend anybody, but sometimes we just have that tendency of complaining of like, oh, they're coming to this. But I've talked to people, local people, that lives in a very remote community, which is happening a lot. Some of the people that left to the States, they're Salvadorian, they will actually move from rural areas where there was no jobs. They have money now. They come there, they open a hotel, they open a hostel, they open a restaurant, so they're helping their community. They are opening jobs, and then people doesn't have to move to the city. They have, their own. They don't
Mm,
have circular economies, but it's definitely helping the
mm.
tourism because then nowadays you just make a good spot to take pictures on Instagram, and then you have the audience because everybody wants just to take the latest pretty picture. And in that sense, we really have very nice parts in El Salvador, which are not far. It's just 1 hour away, 2 hours away, where you are in the mountain, in the middle of nowhere, super good access, which is one of the perks about better security, for sure. Those areas were too dangerous in the past to go. But now, anywhere you point your eye, you can build something. Yes, it's not going to make everybody in the community millionaire, but it's going to help them to have jobs, them to have better opportunities for the future, to at least have an income to start to begin with. Yes, don't stay as a waiter all your life, but at least you don't have to go 18 years old and leave your studies to come to the city and work in anything just because you need an income. Um, it happened in El Sonte, for example. I know that there is divided opinions over there. Sonte is known as Bitcoin Beach here. El Sonte was one of the most undeveloped areas here. It was dangerous. It was very, very poor. But I know that a lot of the hotels that are there are Salvadorian owned. Yes, there are expats and foreign owned too, but they've helped the local community, opening more jobs, opening more opportunities. Um, Even the project, in Bitcoin Beach, they've helped the boys also, to have another job. They've give them scholarships so they can study something else, and now they work as a teachers in their community, and they work as a teachers online. They develop programs. They work as a you know computer programmers, things like that. So I will say that the whole tourism plays out when more people come and see the opportunities, and then you take them. It's gonna help. It's gonna help. For example, it definitely feels sometimes prices, but I don't blame that. I blame that on fiat. That's it. Everything else is what we make for. And
It is interesting because I
even
mean
in
I
this,
saw that Google was doing some stuff in El Salvador as well, and I thought that that was really interesting because it gave me the sense that there's a kind of a desire to invest in the country now because it's seen as a country that's prioritizing growth and innovation and technology and things like that. So there definitely seems to be a very optimistic spirit about it for sure. It's quite
Yes, for sure.
incredible.
It's exactly the building that was built basically where Google is now is one of the most modern, most fancy, really cool buildings in El Salvador. I never thought I was gonna see here. And it looks really cool, like super tall building in the city that says Google. And that's what I mean. Not everybody that is gonna work in that building has to be a programmer, has to be a tech person. You need all sense of jobs there. You need cleaning staff, you need the guards, you need reception, so all of that opens opportunities. And if, for example, a strike wants to move its HQ to here, I believe to
Mm.
same. Not everybody's gonna be in a tech business. You're gonna need everything there. You're gonna need maintenance. You're gonna need workers, and that opens more. I have friends that are open online agencies for expats to learn Spanish, and they hire locals, and so it's everything like if you see it. So and that's what I like. Yeah, a lot of people is gonna be haters are always gonna hate, but people that see supports is gonna be uh taking opportunities and saying, yeah, cool, yeah, I can do this here, which gives you a sense of hope, which is, I believe, to me, it was a little bit cheesy when I was having that feel. I was like, something has changed. I just didn't know why, but something had changed. And an expat told me when they come and they just visited the country for a week, you just feel some hope here. You just feel a little bit of, there is just something. I was like, you're right. I couldn't figure it out what it was because we lived basically, I would say house arresting. We just didn't know, like couldn't leave much in that country. It was very dangerous. Even using Uber was dangerous because you wouldn't know if you were gonna get kidnapped by the driver or the other way
Really?
around.
Wow.
It was really bad. Like I'm not saying that it, and it's much, much better. So even if me with my mom, we just really love coffee and we want to open a really cute, doesn't have to be a franchise, but we want to open a coffee shop here in our house, we're gonna be fine because there's no more extortion, which was one of the main things. And that's what I'm seeing. More people trying on their own. Yeah, sometimes I'm sure that they have to ask for loans and all of that, but they're trying to do something better, which
Hmm.
is in the past it was more of big franchise, but small businesses was hard, was much much harder to open a small business or a small tienda in your own neighborhood
Yeah.
because of the guns problem. And I believe that when more people starting to see it, they're going to start building. We have already builders, and that's what I tell some people. If other people is paying $1 million to get the Salvadorian passport, why won't you? Like, why are not gonna you try to use something of that? Don't, and I think that's it's the time preference. I'm like, think ahead, educate yourself, build. For
It's
example,
interesting,
we
isn't it?
tell
Because
them to
I
students.
do wonder about the influx of people. I'm like, it's such a tiny country, like geographically speaking, there's so many people that want to come and
So
live there
tiny.
now. But it is also interesting, like the game theory that's playing out with El Salvador, because they've embraced Bitcoin so much and then they've seen all of this kind of investment and interest coming in. You are starting to see other countries going, oof, actually, like we have to take this seriously. We can't just sort of ignore this technology in the way that they would probably prefer to if they could. So it's interesting that El Salvador was the first one, and I thought that was so funny when they made Bitcoin legal tender, because obviously El Salvador in English is the savior. It was almost like the
It
savior of
is.
the world has come in and is sort of making Bitcoin adoption kind of inevitable for the nation state. So really interesting.
Yes, and you're right. Like we're so tiny compared to anything. I believe the calculations are that if you take your car and you want to go from one point to the other across borders, you can do it in 6, 7 hours. That's how big we are. Like you can just non-stop on a car for 7 hours and you're done with the country. And that's what I think also great to not lose the sense of community, even on our darkest days. I was very proud of tourists because I worked in tourism in Antigua, and they will ask me, "Oh, you're from El Salvador. Where do you recommend me to go?" And I was like, "Go here, here, and get out. Like, it's dangerous. It's tricky. Visit this beach. Visit this town. It's safe here. Don't get into the communities. You don't have nothing to do there. You're not gonna see anything anyway, other than that, probably." But it was always okay. Like tourists were always okay, which I think it was important at least to come and still see. But we're starting blending, which is interesting. We would see a white people or black
Mm.
people like that will look different. People will stare more because it was just so rare. It was just so strange to see. And we were like, what is this one doing here, right? And now there is just so many. There are expats everywhere. And even on those days, people was always friendly. We were always friendly. We're always welcoming, which is what I want the community in El Salvador not to lose just because they're feeling this struggle with life and getting expensive and all of that, and just having a bad day and blaming that someone is coming. We are
Mm.
all doing the best that we can. I just want them to see it as an opportunities too, and go into their own rabbit holes, right? Like just you study this program, pick what you like, pick what is best for you. You like more the humanitarian part, you like the techie part. Something is going to come. El Salvador, like you said, is going to be the first one in many ways, which is also why, these young students, for example, if they study programming now, in 3, 4, 5 years, they're going to have access to many, many jobs. And for example, with Volcano Energy, which is, have you heard? I don't know if you've heard, they
Hmm.
are a company, half government, half private investment. They are based on renewable energies, not just the volcano part, but also, like solar and wind and all of that. So in the north part of the country, which is far from us, like 3 hours away, but it's kind of remote. Yeah. We visited a school. They are going to buy land and open operations there in the near future, but they call us as, hey, we want you guys, we can work together to teach this school, which is just high school. They're that level, that school is just high schoolers. And they are about 900 students there. And we want, these kids to start learning now about Bitcoin, because in the future they're going to have more opportunities to work in the facilities that we're going to have here. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's probably not even going to be next year, but it's definitely going to be in the next 2, 3 years. And these kids are normally the ones that when you graduated high school, there was just no chances there. We're small, so it's the same. Like we're a small neighborhoods, and then 900 is more looking for jobs, and there are only 5 jobs in the community. So everybody will migrate here, and that's where I think everything is going to play out. If a company is opening there and they need at least 100 people, it's 100 people that they can take, and they don't have to move out.
Mm.
And it's not going to happen what I believe it happened in another countries in Europe, for the years that now they sell houses for $1 because everybody's migrated to the bigger cities. And here it's a small city, but at the end of the day, people had the hope that they would come and find a job here. And it's the same with the people that emigrated to the States illegally because of the war. Nobody really wanted to go. They just left because there were no opportunities. And if now we
Yeah.
have the opportunities, it's a good mix.
It's actually incredible the amount of Salvadorans I've met who are expats who are planning on moving home now, like they want to go back. And I thought that that was
Yeah.
really nice, actually, that, they felt that it was safe enough to go back. And like you say, there was like hope and they see opportunities. So it's a really, really great thing. I'm curious then, so like in terms of Mi Primer Bitcoin, I mean, obviously it's very Salvadoran focused, and I think that's great because you guys are like a very good testing ground for all of these curriculums and seeing how it plays out and working closely with the government. So you're getting a really good knowledge base, I guess, on how to do that. Can you talk a little bit about the global expansion and where this is being rolled out and how the various programs are playing out across the globe? Because I know that you have the Lightning. So when I was part of Bitcoin Policy UK, we were working with you guys to become a node. And Bitcoin Policy UK is now a full node. But could you talk a little bit about
Oh
that
yeah.
program and what it means and how many countries are now participating in it?
Yes. So I believe now that we have 21 countries and it's about 25 communities, because you know that there are like at least 2 in the States, 2 in Canada. And it's funny how it started because it's been super quick. Sometimes we feel it's been years, and sometimes like 20 countries already in 1 year. So we started with this concept of the Lightning Network last year when uh, people reached out, hey, we want to teach your diploma. And we were like, yeah, it's open source. Download it. Here it is. Go ahead. You're free to do it. But then everybody was more of, yeah, no, but we want to, learn like how you guys do it, what are the best practices. And we have our policy of open source everything too, like the most that we can. Even the accounting, we want to do it in the future, which is not there yet, uh, to share it. But so last year, I don't know if you heard about this other project in Guatemala called Lago Bitcoin, which is in
Yes.
the Lago area. Yeah. So Patrick was one of the founders. He retired from the program now because of personal issues, but they wanted, for some reason, they wanted a teacher, yeah, but they wanted a female. And they reached out to John and they say, and John told me, I don't know why they want a female, but he says that they really need a teacher that is a woman. And I was just starting, volunteering. I took the Bitcoin diploma, but I've only taught maybe one or two classes quickly. He's like, would you like to go? And I was really scared, but it was like this for circle. I'm like, oh, well, I love Guatemala. Why not? And he said, you just go to 10 weeks for that to teach it, and then you come back. I ended up staying 6 months because of the demand. We opened it in other schools, and that's when the epiphany for me to dedicate my life just to this happened. But yeah, with your question, we decided like, okay, more people is reaching out. We just want to make sure that there is Bitcoin only, it's empowerment, and it's teaching empowered communities. So that's why we saw that say the need to do a few like rules, right? And we have the pillars of it's gonna be Bitcoin only, teach empowerment, and so and so. So then I don't know if sometimes have you joined, but just yesterday we have the General Assembly that we have the last Thursdays of every month. It was the first time that I was there. Arnold, one of the ones in our team, invited me. It's like, I think it will help you, like see, you have the context of internationally, you develop programs, you should come. And I didn't, like talk or anything. I was just hearing about the communities. I believe yesterday I counted that we were at around 18 in that call. And it was really cool to see, people in Haiti, in Kenya, and because sometimes I take for granted again, like, we work with these communities in the UK, in the States, in Canada, and I'm sure that they are knowledgeable. Is this what I'm doing? Is this little video going to help? I mean, they probably know more than me. But then,
Not
these
really.
guys, not really, probably.
Nice of you to say so, but no.
No. Yeah, that imposter syndrome and that it comes out so often. And yeah, so this guy from IT is 20, and then they were telling us what is happening in Kenya and Nairobi now with the protests and everything that they were trying to do and how important it is. I think what is happening in Africa is very, very important in a way because we see the youth coming up. Like, I think it was came out, pretty flaco that posted one, and he posted the average ages of every area, like in Japan, an area of it's like 38, and the others, the average age over there is under 20. And they're the ones that are going to bring us to a better future. So they push into Bitcoin is very interesting. And that's why with the line on, and then it's been really cool with the line on network because it's never been like an outreach. Everybody was just asking, and then it's just word of mouth. Oh yeah, this one now join. And because it's a self-governed network, we see how even the whole, all the communities and the countries that are part of it have become even more picky. So at the beginning, they vote and they go, and it's based on proof of work, right? Like you applied, they presented, and I believe the previous GA was also to accept new nodes. There were 5, and I think only 1 was accepted. The following time, same, like around 4 or 5, only 2 were accepted by the network, because I think we see the importance of quality work, on proof of work, and making sure that we're doing the right thing for the community wherever we are. I met the guys from Bitcoin Indonesia, the ones that are in Bali. I didn't know that they were German, and the same, right? Like they basically quit everything and they moved to Bali and try to do and help the community there. I do think that's like context is important. So when I went to Guatemala and I saw why they needed one, in at the lake, it's a very Mayan predominant community still, like indigenous people, and they're very, very conservative.
Oh,
Latin
wow.
America in general is very conservative when it comes to men and women roles. But to the extent that sometimes I will try to go and talk to the lady at the little tienda, and she will tell me, I need to ask my husband if I can learn about this because it touches money. So it was very tricky. And or to my, son, even she's the mom is like she has that masculine figure. And it seems that that's where they were having troubles. The community leader Eliazar is a guy. So normally over there, if a strange man goes to you and you're a woman, it's like, who are you? What do you
Oh,
want me to teach about? Yeah. And I think it did help. I think it did help. He told me we became really good friends. He's like, do you see now why we needed a woman? Because when it's you and me, like we go, there is this little trusting factor that
yeah.
there is also a woman. And yeah, no, not everybody's as independent as we will see. And even though I grew up, in El Salvador, I could understand, but I was lucky enough that, I had a dad that never made those differences and, on the machismo or anything. So that's why I think it's easier for me to work in a predominant, say, men work, because I don't see it. I just see that there are things that we're capable of doing, and we're just part of a team, like in Mi Primer Bitcoin. Like I said, we're about 21, but it's only me as a woman
I
as of
love that you're
now.
21. You're going to have to stick to that now.
Yeah, right. We're gonna stick. John will like to stick on. John is. I always make jokes of like you and you're 21. Like he always wants to make 21 everything. You should have 21 of these. And you're right. Oh my god, I haven't thought about it. So that's how it played out. And now all of these communities want to start. I made some connections also. Just chatting BTC Prague too with one guy that wants to translate it to Serbian. He told me we have this, and I know about Bitcoin, but I wanted to teach it. It went all over the place. I just confused the people. So this program is really cool because it starts from zero and they want to pitch on institutions, like go and pitch it. We can teach about this. And he told me, in Serbia, a lot of people basically speaks English already, especially young ones, they learn English. But I believe that there is something when you learn your own language
Mm.
anyway. I've learned, for example, the Bitcoin standard on both languages, and it's just different when it's my language. There are concepts that you understand more. And it's very powerful because we just share best practices. And again, I sometimes in this little bubble of Bitcoin in El Salvador, I can live on this standard, and those efforts of everybody trying to push, because to me it's amazing how it's just selfless. It's just people dedicating time. They need to make you need to pay bills like everybody else, but they are not. They're doing it in their own time with the
Mm.
resources that they can, which is why it's so important, for us to raise funds and provide more grants and all of that, so we can keep going and help more people find that freedom, that freedom of, at the beginning, it's not just financial, but I think it's just more on our mental freedom of there is something more that we can do. I can only imagine how challenges the situations for the guy in Haiti are. Even the internet is really hard these days. They're having a crisis in the country. And then I'm like, I'm sure that it's hard for you to go and let's learn about Bitcoin. People is not in the right mindset at the moment. Maybe sometimes, or maybe it's the right mindset. It's just that time that it catches you of trying to find something that is gonna liberate it from the slavery world that we have right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, this has been really awesome, like Reyna. It's great chatting to you, and it's so nice to hear about how everything is going from somebody that's actually like at ground zero of like Bitcoin adoption in El Salvador, because you've just got so much more insight, I think, into sort of how adoption is growing there and in general, like the impact that it's having. Could you just direct people as well if they want more information, like what website they should go to, if they want to become a node and actually teach them a Premier Bitcoin program and kind of get certified by you guys, if you like what process they need to go through? Could you just share that?
Yes, of course. Yeah. So you can just go to our website first. It's myfirstbitcoin.io. And you see there all the on top, donate, what we are, our mission, our vision. You can redirect it to our GitHub. You can contribute to, of course, download the PDF in the language that is available right now. It's English, Spanish, French. I think it's already there, and then everybody's translating it. And there is one there that says the network, so you see the map of all the ones that we are in. right below it says apply. So you apply, and it's just a Google form, really easy, of where you send your application and become a node. And it's really cool, like it's really powerful. I think everybody can do it in their own communities for sure. I mean, if you have and you don't want to be part of it, by all means, go ahead and do it. Everybody should learn about Bitcoin. But there is just different energy as well to be part of the community inside with them and hear their stories, hear Felix in Kenya, to hear Adam in Zambia, of what they're trying to do. And it just provides more value in a way to as an educator, I
Mm-hmm.
think, because these people in Africa, and it's really cool how it's happening. They are forming a smaller group now because they work in the same community, so context is similar. And then this guy is also, I think, Dominican Republic and Cuba and Honduras are also doing something similar in the Caribbean. So they connect, right? Again, we just call ourselves like the Genesis block in El Salvador, but then everything else is just around the community. So
That's
we want to
amazing.
learn as much as possible from Bitcoin, which is the way that we believe it should be. And I mean, a lot of them, of the nodes, they're not super open in social media for that reason. It's just privacy or whatever. But the general assemblies are really cool to be part of
Oh,
it. It's just
cool.
once a month. And
And if
usually,
people want to follow you on social media, where are you and what are your handles on the various different platforms?
yeah. So my first Bitcoin is also, I believe, is at my first Bitcoin underscore. We do have Twitter, X, and Instagram. Instagram, it's tend to go more for the local community in Spanish. But there are cool
Oh,
videos there over there too of what we do. I believe our marketing guy from here also made a TikTok. I don't even have TikTok, but they made one just to try to teach the younger ones and put those videos. And it worked. A lot of people is in Bitcoin, and we're having more Salvadorian meetups. Sorry, going to our meetups actually. It's like, oh, I
oh,
saw you in TikTok. I'm like, okay, it's actually working. And that's what we share, right? And then I am Reyna Chicas 2. I have the 2 because I lost my first account and I just had to put a
oh.
2. So everybody,
So
everybody
is that
else,
on
so I don't like
Twitter or Instagram?
on Twitter.
On
Oh,
Twitter.
both.
Oh, okay. You
Yeah,
Reyna
both.
Chicas too on both of those platforms.
On both of them. Yeah, on both of them. I move it because I found out actually an impersonator on Instagram, which is crazy to me. I'm like, I only have
I love
friends. How
it.
can like
You've
I
made it. You know
know,
you've
I know.
made it when you've got an impersonator.
Mom, I made it. I know, right? There's so many scams these days. It's crazy. Yeah. Carla, my friend who you had a few days ago and the
Oh, you
podcast
know
a few weeks
Carla.
ago. Oh, I love her. Yeah, she's a good friend. We really like bonded more in Prague. I really love her. Like we connected really well. So she has so many all the time. I'm like, I have to keep reporting your accounts all the time. It's just crazy.
God.
And even this John happens the same. Stacy has so many too. I'm like, I know, I'm done reporting all of these people. But yeah, it's really cool. Just make sure. I'm never gonna ask how your trading is going, how you, but never gonna ask anything. So yeah, just feel free to reach out if there is
Those spam
anything.
accounts are
Also,
so
I'm
funny.
open.
How's your trade going? I mean, it's just like so.
Yeah, I received a message from a friend. I'm a personal friend the other day. I'm like, I know this isn't a scam. Don't you see that we're friends? Like, of course, I'm gonna know that you're fake. So, but if sometimes you're curious or anything, someone is listening, I mean, feel free to reach out too. I know that it can be sometimes a scary step and to put yourself out there. So
Yeah.
just know that you're not alone. We're just trying to make the world a better place,
That's
hopefully.
amazing. I mean, it's so good. I think you guys have just what you're doing is incredible. It's like you're the only organization that's really doing this, like kind of aggressively and open sourcing everything. And the fact that you're able to test all of this stuff actually with sort of institutions like governmental institutions, educational, institutions, I just think is absolutely incredible. So, I mean, thank you so much from the bottom of all of
No,
our
thank you,
hearts
Krista.
globally of like everything that you guys are doing. And I think it's just amazing. Kudos to John for having the vision and then for all the rest of the 20 of you who are putting that
True,
out. You
that's
can't
fair.
now, if anybody leaves, like you can't bring any new staff on unless somebody leaves. You're gonna have to keep
No,
it at 21.
at 21.
Well, thank you, Reina. Is there
Agree.
any closing words,
Thank
anything
you.
that you would like to say, any comments or anything on to anyone listening? I know.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me to start with. Thank you, Krista. This was a good chat.
My
I hope that
pleasure.
we connect welcome to El Salvador, of course, anytime. I always invite people. They always love it. So feel welcome. Like, don't be afraid. If you feel a little curiosity and still just keep growing that curiosity is what the fiat system has taken from us. And we're curious. So just stay humble, stack that, and just keep educating yourself. Please get some Bitcoin.
Nice. So cool. Thank you so much, Reyna.
Yeah, thank you, Krista. Have a good day.
You too.